There we go. Okay, great. So that did not update what I wanted that to say. So, all right, well, good morning. This is Migration 2020 TruPayroll. I am your host, Al Wagner, and we are at 10/8/2021. Not sure why that didn't update the slide, even though I did it. We will get this started and probably, yep, that didn't update either. I don't know what I did. I'm actually going to stop that share. I'm going to stop that recording, resume recording. There. Okay, there we go. So now we're back and got it going for October the 8th. The amount of updates today are going to be a little bit limited because we don't actually have a whole lot of detailed things to share. There are some concerns that from last week's presentation surrounding the way in which we're doing the employee onboarding. So in last week's video that can be watched again from the launch page, is rather than having each employee have a separate profile for every employer that they may ever work for, we are consolidating that into a much more streamlined database approach that will create a single record for each and every user, regardless of their role within either the company or as an employee or as a provider of software like us. So as Al Wagner, I will have a user ID that is within our system that can also be added as an employee or contractor or as a reseller. And what happens with that is, as we saw last time, when you go to add me, if I was to go work for you, then you would actually start to put in, you're going to already have some of my information. You have to, right? Because as an employee, you've got to have my social and you've got to have some contact information. So our process that we showed last week was that you would enter in a social with a date of birth and it would populate a name. And then you would actually click on that name if that's the correct person, and it would basically load up that employee, in which you can then, once you say, yes, this is the person, then you're going to select on what we're entitling as an engagement or employment. And then you can correlate that person with your company. You won't have access to anything other than that person's name, their social, of course, which you already have, their basic profile, and their banking. So that way you don't have to go through entering all of that. However, before you can actually add that person, and as a result of last week's, it did bring up another question. I'll get to that in a second. You will, the system will then send out something to that employee, whether it be by text or email, saying, hey, customer XYZ or employer XYZ has requested that your approval to add you to their payroll. And that's when that employee has the ability to say yes or no. And in the event that somebody doesn't have a means of communication, we are working out actually how to facilitate that in the best way possible. I can't tell you that I have a detailed answer yet. We do have a detailed approach, but I'd rather save that for an update where I can actually show you, as opposed to trying to do this verbally. Rest assured, we're doing everything to secure private information and only display it to the folks that are entitled to see it. So if I, as an employee of 10 different customers or employers on the platform, company one's only going to see what's relative to company one. Company two is only going to see what's relative to company two as it relates to me. However, when I log in, I will be able to pick and choose between the different engagements I have, the different employments and contract relationships that I have with all 10. So I have a one-stop place to go to see all of that. And if I want to update my banking information, I can do that relative to each employment or contract engagement as well. So it gives me the flexibility of controlling my information while at the same time giving the employers a much more smooth and quicker approach to actually doing onboarding. So hopefully that helps. And again, once we have the user interface built out, and we have something to display, which we're hoping to have 3 videos for done today. We'll showcase those next week. But I do want to share this part, which we have one very specific request, and we sent out postcards and we've been sending out emails, and it's relative to the direct deposit information. If you have employees with direct deposit, we need your help. The current platform does not allow you nor I to see the full routing and account number. And so I've been getting this question a lot this week. What do I have to do? Is there anything? We haven't done any migration yet. Nobody's gotten started. That we do anticipate that still happening this month, I don't know if we're doing groups of 10 or 25, but that's kind of where we've narrowed it down. We will let you know when it's your turn. And so you're going to be fully aware when we're going to start with that. But in the meantime, part of that migration process, again, is getting the direct deposit. So I'm going to slide this over. And this is at TruPayroll.com/employee. And you can see it's actually a secure form. So this is perfectly okay to fill this out. The challenge that we've had, this is a crazy, the way in which the form is displaying, I don't know in what world or universe there's a month with 3 numbers in it, but this seems to suggest that we have 3 numbers to a month, 1 number to a day, and of course the year. So the way around this, because people are trying to put in their information and it's kicking it out, select a date and then literally modify it. So if it's actually January 8th of 1975, we type it in and then we select it. Totally works. That's the biggest challenge that we've had. We did add from last week because we did have some customers with employees that are splitting their deposits into 2 different accounts. Moving forward, so this is for the current profile. Moving forward, your employees will have the ability to have N number, so an infinite number of bank accounts. They just have to tell you via their account access what they want done with that split. So account 1 would be, I want 50% put here, and then please put the remaining amount here. Right, so they can fill that part out and tell us how they want that split. When their account access becomes available, then they'll be able to actually designate those rules either by percent, by flat dollar amount, or a combination thereof, with the final account being kind of that remainder, that last bucket. So whatever's left, put it here. Other than that, that's really the biggest next step. We've downloaded everything. We continue to do that. So as you're running your payrolls, we're downloading that information so that it can be migrated over, and everything will be right up to date, including all that history. So that's about all I have for this week. So this is going to be a little bit shorter than normal. Next week, I anticipate being able to show those 3 videos and perhaps a few more that are going to deal with the onboarding process and the payroll process. We did some edits on how to do inline editing if there's an issue with a check. I don't think we're going to have any video ready for what it's going to look like when you have to go back and do amended stuff if you have something that needs to get fixed in a previous quarter. That probably won't have that for another couple weeks. So with that said, yep, so that question still has come up. What is the cutoff date? You'll know it when the email comes in as far as when we're going to transition. We will be getting that started here in the next couple weeks. And it is anticipated through the month, by the mid-month of November next month, everybody will be into the new platform. And so just continue to do what you normally do to get your payroll through the door. And I'm going to open up Anthony or Beatrice. Do you guys have any further questions that you've thought of? And thanks for being here. Anthony, love it. You're here every week, so I appreciate it. And any questions for me this week? Anything that's come up?
Yeah, just thanks, Al. I think that's helpful to know that I'm going to send an email to my people in the company and tell them that something's coming. And then I will wait until I hear from you as to when to actually roll out I assume you're going to give us some kind of an email that we can send to people with a link to set up their account specifically. Will it be, I guess then, will they use old login criteria for that? Or because they currently have a login to their payroll account, right, through Intuit. Is there going to be a new login with TruPayroll or with, how's that going to work? Just give me a heads up of that so I can kind of get my head around what's going to be coming up.
Sure, great question. The short answer to that is it's all new credentials because it's a completely different platform.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So what we plan on doing with that, Anthony, is if employees have filled out that form, we'll have their mobile, we'll have their email. If their mobile or email is in the current platform, we've scraped that down, we've got it. We will let them know directly. So we'll send them a text message or an email saying, hey, this is going to be, go here. We're going to handle that for you, is provided that we have that information. Yeah.
Okay. So that's going to come directly from you, not via me then. So all I need to let people know is this is coming. I'll advise you. It would be good for us to know so that we can tell our employees, okay, this is coming next week. And you're going to get it directly from you guys under the banner of TruPayroll or the other name that I've seen, Wholesale Payroll or whatever it is. Payroll. Then that's good. Yeah, that'll work really well. I'm just going to give them the heads up this week in advance of our mid-month payroll that this is coming. And then you said we expect this to be rolled out by the middle of November. I'll let you know when you're specifically in the queue. Okay, got it. That answers my question.
That's going to be the drop dead our internal drop dead is November 1st to get all of the processing started. In the meantime, we will be transitioning some prior to that, and then we're going to be transitioning the rest after that. So definitely.
And you're going to run, you're going to run in parallel, right, with the old Intuit as well till the end of the year or not?
That probably not until the end of the year.
You're going to cut off the Intuit. You're going to cut off Intuit by the end of the year. Okay. So then all the numbers and anything people need for income tax and stuff like that is all going to be with the new system.
Correct. The entire
for 2021
history.
Yep.
So in your case, yep, for as long as you've been a customer of ours, that entire history comes over to the new platform, and it'll actually be a lot easier for people to access their information. It's kind of a pain now the way that they set it up in order to particularly get prior year's information. So currently the design is everything is so this is actually pretty cool. We've warehoused all of the previous year's forms, and when somebody asks for a previous form, it gets populated with the most current, up-to-date, fixed, amended information. Because I can't tell you how many times as a payroll company, particularly when it comes tax time, right? So we're now dealing with the October 15th personal returns. Case in point, one of our customers, they went, oh, we forgot to do our contributions, or it was part of their retirement plan. So now we got to go back to 2020 and manually fix that because the current system doesn't allow for that. So that history isn't going to be entirely accurate. However, when we migrate them, we'll be able to fix that so that the history is accurate. So that part's really exciting. So if they go back to that 2020 form or even 2019 or earlier, if we've been doing that processing, then it will be absolutely up. And in fact, it was something that we did this week as a result of doing some of that data migration, where we discovered the way in which the current platform does do fixes. It will create separate entries versus actually fixing the original check entry. And so what we did in the database is, yes, the database will have the adjustment as a separate adjustment, but when it goes to do the presentation, you're only going to see the one thing fixed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You want to see the net result. You don't want to see you want to make sure that the historical data has been adjusted and accurate.
You run a report
purposes for employees. Yeah.
And then as an employer, you'll be able to run an audit report so you can see where the changes did take effect. So it'll be visible to you. Yeah. And then one of the other things that I think is very interesting that we have discovered, And I'll dovetail, I'll go down a rabbit hole for a second. Through the pandemic, colleges, this is totally off topic in a sense, we found out, because I've got 4 kids in college, the way in which the accreditation system works. If they want to transfer from one school to another, I had a senior, and he was thinking about transferring out because he was not happy with the way the politics of the school were running. We found out that colleges don't accept credits from everywhere else, private, public, whatever the case is. And it's a very Roach Motel type system. You get into a college, they've pretty much got your hooks. He would have had to go back to being a first year or a first semester junior. He would have lost 2 years in that transfer. So
Terrible.
The correlation to this is, in the payroll industry, payroll companies don't make it easy for you to leave.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Right? We're changing that. We believe if you don't like what we're doing,
go
we
somewhere
want to
else.
help facilitate you in the easiest
Right.
way possible. We want you to stay with us because we're doing the best possible job, and you value that. And so
Right.
One of those changes is the exporting functionality will actually make it so easy for you to leave and go somewhere else. Now that makes it's industry changing, because it's just nobody does that. And we're taking a completely different approach. It's going to be the quality of what we do that retains you versus the Roach Motel approach.
Well, I think if you let people out the door easily, they'll also feel more welcome to come back. So that is a very good business plan on your part, because some people will go for whatever reason. So, but it leaves the door open for them to come back much more easily if you let them out the door without giving them a hard time. If you give them a hard time, you're not going to get them back.
And
Totally
that
agree.
is what we're finding. So very interesting. When you run the report in the current system for the payroll details, it is not conducive for an export-import functionality. But our developers have written code to read all of that, what essentially in the computer world, as I found out, it's really garbage. So you have to reassemble that garbage into a usable form to actually get it imported. So for us, it's very exciting, because anybody that's using any type of QuickBooks product can run a report similar to what we have, because that's what they generate. And we can read that report in and actually onboard employees in a matter of seconds. And so
Great.
when it comes to migrating that, of course, we won't have the direct deposit, but once the system's up and running, we'll be able to send that employee their login credentials, and then they can update their banking right there on the fly as it's happening. So we're excited. I can't wait. We're
Question
right
about question about the implementation. Say, like, we've got 10, 15 employees, so not a big company, but let's say all of them go in and do their link except for a couple of people for the upcoming payroll. Is that going to cause a problem?
No.
Are we going to be able to chase them down, or how do we? I'm sure you've anticipated this happening, because people are busy; they don't get around to doing it. What's going to happen with people who are delinquent and getting their account information up to snuff?
Paper check. You'll be able to create a paper check for those folks until they confirm that what their direct deposit information is. And most likely everybody, if they have that happen one time, they'll get in there and be like, no, I don't want a paper check. I want my direct deposit. So they'll get in there. That's really the final kick in the butt, if you will. But no, it will not stop you from processing payroll. And part of that expectation is there is the possibility of saying, okay, so what we have is the ability to do same day or next day ACHing as well, or direct deposits rather. And so there are some caveats to that, which it's not going to be globally available. I mean, in other words, you just can't turn it on or off. But if somebody was to say you're doing your payroll on a Wednesday for a Friday, and hey, you didn't get us your direct deposit information, so now it's Thursday, you can change the date so that they could get it on a Monday as well. Or we could do a next day and depending upon the history and relationship with the customer, will be able to authorize that on an individual basis.
Oh, so if people are delinquent in terms of getting their information set up, if they get it done even after the payroll date, they can still get paid that way? Because I'd rather force,
Yes,
I kind of want to force people, everybody's getting it direct now too anyway. So, hey, you didn't get your pay.
Right.
Well, you didn't update the information. Here's a link. Please do it. And your money should be coming the next day or so. People will be highly motivated then.
exactly, exactly. I agree.
I mean, I don't like doing that to
the-
people, but yeah, but I think that's a nice way of encouraging people to fill out the information so that they get their bank account information up to speed. So with W-4s, just because I'm Canadian, right, and I'm actually working remotely from Canada right now, but we'll be back in the States shortly. W-4s, they changed them a couple of years ago, and I think I remember I sent you that email about something about not taking enough income tax off for somebody. I think they had an old version of the W-4 in the system, and you still were utilizing that for deductions, or the system was utilizing that until they get a new W-4. Should people all be on a new W-4? Is that should have happened? I mean, that should have happened before I even took on the job, but I don't think it did. It just got carried over. What's the payroll rule on that?
So that's a great question, and one for the ages, if you will. In theory, you're supposed to update a W-4 annually because everybody's circumstances can change. So the current design isn't really set up for facilitating that, where in our system, the design is such that we can actually set a preference that will allow you to say, hey, January 1st or in December, let's say, once the new W-4 form is approved by OMB, here it is. Do you want to update this? Yes or no? And if nothing's changed, they can say no. You have it on record. You have their request in that form. You can use the old forms if they have been hired previously. So if they are a 2018 employee, they can still use a 2018 W-4, particularly if nothing's changed. The difference will be in the mathematical calculation of the tax tables, because it will be different tax tables that do get utilized.
Oh, is that right?
Really?
If you're still using an old form, it'll use an old tax table.
It will.
Correct. Isn't that weird? Okay, I thought that would at least be updated. So it's based on the actual year that the form was submitted. That is weird.
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking Canada would be automatically updated.
Yeah, what I would highly recommend is to have everybody fill out a new one and go through the process that the IRS has because it's more comprehensive. The new W-4 is intended to take a look at your entire situation, because case in point, I was working on somebody this morning who says their employee wasn't having any taxes taken out. I said, well, they filled out the form as head of household with $4,000 of dependency credit, and they're haven't even made $6,000 yet this year. So there's no way that we're ever going to calculate a withholding amount based on the tables. So those kind of, I'm going to mute you for a quick second because of the background noise. Okay, there we go, because nobody's going to be able to hear my answer. So I would absolutely encourage everybody to fill that out, go through the process of filling that out, because it will take a holistic approach to their tax situation to ensure that the correct amount of taxes, or at least as accurately as it can be, so that at the end of the year, and then you can take a look to see, hey, this is a part-time job for me. I have other income coming in, because it takes that now into account, and it will tell you by going through the process, hey, you need to have an extra $50 or you need $500 in addition taken out, because the tax table calculation isn't going to be enough. So then you can put that in, and when they're doing the W. So the other part too is that the onboarding process for new employees, we're going to walk them through that as well. So they'll actually be filling out the W-4 in line. So you send them either an email or a text message, or they're sitting there with you, and they're going to fill out their personal information and go through the W-4, complete the I-9, have a picture ready to upload. They can snap it with their phone, and it will store that information securely, of course. And They'll also be able to do that on a however much of a recurring basis. Somebody needs to complete a new W-4 because they want different withholding rates or whatnot. They can fill out a new one at any time. So if it comes mid-year, then no problem. They can do that. Or if they want to do it every month. So, and if you have anything, don't forget I've muted you there for a minute. So if you want to hit the space bar for me, that'll temporarily unmute you. Just hold it down.
Yeah, my background noise has disappeared. We had a guest in our home, so she's just left. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot more flexibility with the W-4, but I think we're still going to have to do a lot of hand holding because people are obviously not going to be familiar with what their options are. That is very versatile. I like that. Gives me a better idea of how it works in the US because it's still fairly new for me. Anything else that I can think of? That's great what you're doing. I think it's very exciting. Okay. I can't think of anything else right now. I think that gives me the information I need. So thanks for your help, Al.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week with some cool new videos.
Some more meat. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
You have a great week. Okay. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. All right. Bye-bye. And with that, we are going to end our session. And if you would like to watch any of the replays, you can go to www.trupayroll.com/launch right there. And this one will be up later today. The first two are sitting there ready for you to watch if you care to. Other than that, we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.